Hello everyone, welcome to another Amigos play. I'm Aaron, and this time we're going to take a look at the tennis classic on the Amiga, Tennis Cup 2. Tennis Cup was a game published by an outfit called Lauricio, I believe is the pronunciation, a French company that unfortunately went defunct, I think in about 1995. They were around for quite a while, supporting everything from the Amstrad all the way to the Super Nintendo. They did a bunch of stuff on DOS, and their notable games on the Amiga were probably this. I'm looking over their list here. They did Panzer Kickboxing for DOS. I don't know if they did it on the Amiga or not. That was a game that I thought was really awesome back in the day. I know they did Best of the Best, which is basically the same thing. So they may have been the ones that brought us that, but they did a lot of stuff on a lot of different systems, and sadly they went out in '95 just as the Super Nintendo stuff came out. They even had a PC Engine release, so kind of neat. So this is Tennis Cup 2. I'm not super familiar with this one. I've read a lot of good things. This is cute. I read the load times are horrific, so I've got the WHD here. All right, let's see what we've got here. I like the club setting. Very clever, very cute. I've also read that this has got split screen mode, and that'd be neat if we had two players. I always like that. Here's one of the classic WHD loads. I like this. Oh, that's good. I like stuff that sets an atmosphere here. I don't think I'm going to do great. Okay. Right away I can see oh gosh, I'm going to have trouble with this. Right away I can see something I don't like about it, which is the viewing angle. The net is high, and so it's hard for me to see where the ball is coming from or going. I like a little more slant to the court. That's just me. So, but we'll see how we do here. The atmosphere is great. There we go. Okay. Okay, this is it's unusual. That's for sure. I guess we're on clay here. I'll have to fiddle with the options once I get through this first match here. This game was put together again by Lauricio out of France. The coder was a fellow, I'm going to try to pronounce his name, Clement Yemeni. Very unusual name. Graphics for this were Dominique Sablons, and the musician was Michel Wangradolf. All very French-sounding names. Like I said, this came out in '92. It was a sequel to a game, crazily enough, called Tennis Cup. And Tennis Cup came out in '89, as I recall. This game was considered a pretty good follow-up from what I've read. It wasn't appreciated by everyone. It's time, that's for sure. Gosh, I'm horrible at this. I'm sorry. Hopefully I'll get better as this goes on. Looks like this came out, aside from the Amiga, it was out on the Atari ST and the Amstrad and DOS. It's amazing that Lauricio did a lot of DOS ports, which, in fact, more DOS stuff than Amiga. I honestly don't remember much about their stuff for DOS. I will bring up a list here when I get a chance and see if I remember anything. Pinball Magic, I do remember. And Best of the Best. A lot of their stuff I just don't recall. Jim Power, I vaguely recall that. So I guess that's why they it didn't last too much. This game was not what I would call thoroughly hammered by the critics. God. Okay, let me get going here. There. Okay. Maybe I need more net play. You're not going to believe this, but and I may have mentioned this on the show, but when I was in high school, I was a scrub on the tennis team, and I did letter in tennis, and I was the biggest, most awkward tennis player you've ever seen. I was too slow to really be competitive, so I had to dive and play ambidextrously, and I would often come out of these tennis matches with cuts and scrapes all over me where I dove all over the place. So it's not surprising that my poor icon here is diving around and looking like an idiot. Also, I didn't have the best endurance you would have ever seen. Anywho, this game didn't review all that great. It was okay, but not great. Looking over the scores, and of course I usually use the big magazines as my go-to. Amiga Format gave it an 80%, which I think is probably a pretty fair deal. That stunk. That was horrible. We're going to hope and pray that we can learn something here and have a look at these options. What do we got here? Oh, this is cute. Oh, poor dude. Boy, how many times have I been in that position? Oh, I stink. Oh, that's nice. It gives you the breakdown. I like the stat stuff. I think that's very clever. It's funny, this game even has load times on the WHD load. So it must be one thing I've read over and over, how just viciously bad the load times were in this. So let's take a look at this menu here. Okay, standard stuff. Okay, split screen you can turn on and off. Nice. Display judges. I like that. Now let's give this a shot. Got court type. Okay. Quick. That's interesting. Tournament selection. A lot of good options here, I have to say. Okay. Create opponent. It's kind of neat. Okay. You know what? Let's go back there for a second. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Maybe if a computer buddy helps me, I will suck less. Oh, this is nice. Get some national anthems. That's pretty good. I always like that. Anyway, getting back to the reviews, Amiga Power gave it a 72%, so a little lower. Then you've got some more of the oddball reviews. Amiga Computing, 32%. That's a tongue lashing. The Joker, Amiga Joker, 69. Again, kind of low. Generation 4, which I believe is a French book, gave it a 90%. So there you go. All right, let's see if I can do here with a buddy. The atmosphere is quite good, and the graphics are quite good. Again, that angle's a little low. I like the fact that you can move off screen. That was sort of mandatory about this time for tennis games. That the screen would kind of have more play area, which is nice. Okay, I think we may have a chance here. Swinging takes some getting used to. That's for sure. When I think about my favorite tennis games of all time, this may not be amongst them. I like the tennis game on the Dreamcast an awful lot. I believe it was the 2K Sports one. It was really good. I'd say that's probably my favorite. Now, the Amiga, the game I played most on the Amiga, tennis-wise, gosh, what was the name of it? It was Great Courts 2. Now that was a game I really liked. You'll notice that the difference, if you have not played Great Courts 2, they took a different approach at the viewing angle. The camera's higher, much higher than this, and the arena is a little more 3D. It's sort of like, I'm trying to explain, it's like a straightforward view with more of a tilt. I mean, frankly, that's basically what it is. And I like the game. I could put the ball in play better. I had a better field of view than that. Probably have a look at that one at some point to do a compare and contrast with this. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is actually pretty nice, but it just seems tougher for me to get to the ball. Again, though, now that being said, Great Courts took me a while to get to warm up to as well. I remember, not to go off on Great Courts 2, but when I had my 1000, I had a few. There were only a couple games I can think of that did this on the Amiga for me, and it was because of the chip RAM, I'd wager. But this and Xenon 2, I mean not this, but Great Courts 2 and Xenon 2 would only load up in black and white. It used to just drive me nuts. I have to play these games in black and white. And I remember when I got the RAM expansion, or maybe it was when I even changed Amigas, but I was able to see these games in color. I was like, oh, thank God. And the funny thing is, I remember occasionally I could get Xenon 2 to load in color, and I don't know what I did to do that. I don't know if I was running something or just doing it differently, but once in a blue moon it would load in color, but most of the time it would only load in black and white. That's one of the mysteries of the Amiga. It makes it such a great computer. The wacky stuff you had to put up with back in the day. Reading some reviews of Tennis Cup 2, most of them were pretty favorable in the gameplay. The angle of the court was mentioned, but the continual complaint with this, oh God, ignore that just happened. Multiple face falls. Anyway, the general complaint was the really bad loads. Which is a shame that it had so much load. In fact, I heard that was the problem. I read a few reviews where people said they preferred the first one to this one, strictly due to the load times. So there you go. On Lemon Amiga, which is, gosh, if you're not there, you should be on there. It's a tremendous site. I use it all the time as a reference. It's got a total score of 7.67. I would say that's probably in the ballpark of what I would rate it. The WHD load, as one fellow here says, is a must. I will probably have to edit some of these load times down. If the load times aren't as savage on here, after I finish this, you'll know that I've edited it down, because even with the WHD load, the load times are, I mean, they may be the longest that I've ever seen with WHD load. Which one would wonder what the hell it's loading. So oh God. I'm having trouble with that, with grasping. I know this is a revelation, but I'm just having trouble grasping my timing on this. It's really difficult. It drives me absolutely bonkers. But God, I'm sorry, I'm letting Carlos down big time. We started off so well. I don't know what the hell happened. Tennis really hit stride in the early 90s, I think, in the late 80s. I was a big fan of John McEnroe. I liked Gabriella Sabatini. And she was also a good tennis player. I thought she was so beautiful. I liked Chris Everett Lloyd, of course. Martina Navratilova. I was a fan of hers as well. There were some good players back in those days, and the game seemed to have a little more. It was a little more energetic, and there were a lot of big names. Maybe it's just because I was in it more. So I was really a big fan of the tennis games, and like I said, the Amiga was right there in the in the wheelhouse of when tennis for me was hot. I'd been on the team in '89, so pretty much through the early '90s, I was a big fan. And so I played quite a bit of tennis back in the day. One of the things about getting an Amiga is, since it was so much more capable than the systems I had previously, I mean, you could actually get a good sports game. I think the Amiga as a sports playing system is very underrated. I know a lot of people will say, well, what about sensible soccer? Well, if you're an American, soccer was not a big deal. Still isn't a huge deal over here. Oh man, I am just bombing on this thing. But having played sensible soccer with the Amigos, boy, it's a tremendous game. There are several good golf games for the Amiga. I like the Madden on the Amiga pretty well. Of course, TV Sports Basketball, if anyone knows me or has listened to any of my shows, knows how much I love that game. So there were plenty of good Amiga sports games, and that's not including stuff like Panza kickboxing or international karate, stuff like that. I mean, those were good too, or the racing games, whatever your sport is. But just your individual stuff and your team sports were fun. Not to mention the game stuff, all the games. So, I mean, I think the Amiga is a little bit underrated. A lot of people look at the Sega Genesis / Mega Drive as the big sports console, but I would say the Amiga matches up pretty nicely with what they were offering up on there. And of course, the Amiga was a slight bit better on a lot of stuff than the Genesis was. Well, I'm getting ready to finish the tanking here on this game. Poor Carlos, long-suffering bum. I do like the fact that you have a split screen with two players. I never liked playing any. I'm out of here. I never liked playing in the where you switch sides, which is something I don't think that split screen was available on great courts. I don't recall. I recall it being in there. I haven't played it for a while. Which that is an improvement, and that may be some of the reason that some of the things are like they are to accommodate this split screen. I would wager that you have to. There would be some things you'd have to give up to accommodate that. So that would make sense. Well, I have sank Carlos, and that's a fact. And I think we could put this one to bed. So that's just a look at my ineptitude at Tennis Cup 2. We will probably try having a go at a few other tennis games. I'm in the mood for some tennis, despite the fact that it's almost fall. So I would wager that next I will be doing Great Courts 2 and a few other ones I've had my eye on. So until next time, I hope you guys have a nice night. This is Amigo Aaron signing off. Adios.